Hi there, second video. Today we're going to talk about postmodernity at request of a lot of students. My students are preparing for their January mock exams at the moment, really finding postmodernity the hardest thing to capture and to create good definitions and analysis of. So we're just going to have a quick run through today, just to give you something to pin your revision on. So I'm thinking of a kind of knowledge grid here. So we've got definition, effects of, that's your analysis really, criticisms of, and thinkers that we would use, that we would apply and bring over, and we could include concepts here as well. The thing with postmodernity is it is really hard to find a definition for it. So rather than a definition, and we could talk about it as that period post-modernity, where modernity is being where we move to kind of scientific rational thought, postmodernity then being moving past that and getting away from restrictive structures, getting away from meta-narratives, universal truths, and kind of moving forward to something that's more about individual meaning. But really, I think for an A-level student, if you are aware and you can list, and you've got the fluency, when we say postmodernity, you say these key terms that need understanding to be able to define what postmodernity is. So we're looking at diversity and choice as the first one, and individual choice as a big part of that. Rapid social change, that's tied in with technology, that's tied in with chaos, more chaotic lifestyles, and things changing much faster than they ever have. Fragmentation, so we're talking about moving away from set structures, very strict, structured in society, class structures, gender structures, that kind of thing, family unit structures, nuclear family. Disembedding, Anthony Giddens' term, so we're talking about the disembedding of time and space. So with the technology, with the communication, with globalization, in this post-modernity, this era of post-modernity, we have a disembedding of time and space. We can be very close through different ways without having to travel across the world, and we can also experience the world and interact in ways that we couldn't, say, 100 years ago. And also we've got moving past meta-narratives and moving past universal truths. So we're very much looking at kind of individual meaning and the meaning that we attach, and truth being truth of our own lived experiences rather than this kind of accepted truth. Okay, so it's more about the individual. So when we look at the thinkers, the key thinkers that we can attach here in order to apply to your answers and in order to demonstrate your true understanding of this area. Judith Stacey is kind of our goddess of postmodernity when we're looking at the family. So she's talking about individual choice. She talks about the divorce extended family, and there's lots to do with diversity there. So we kind of bring her in when we're talking about diversity, family structures, and postmodernity. Tamara Harivan, talking about life course analysis and how people attach different meanings to different stages of their life. And now those stages, there's a much more choice over what we do when. We're not expected to be having children at a certain fixed age, or getting married at a fixed age, or having marriage sort of imposed on us when we reach a certain age, or being labelled as maybe a spinster for choosing not to marry and not to have children. Risk Society, Ulrich Beck. So, and remember, these actually, Beck and Giddens are late modernists, not postmodernists. But if you have a question on postmodernity, you're going to want to bring in a full awareness of that all the definitions of the era we're in now. So we've got Risk Society from Beck. So everything we do these days, according to Ulrich Beck, is about managing risk. There's much more risk in the way that we live our lives. And that links in very well with what Giddens says, not just about disembedding of structures, but also about the isolation of the nuclear family and this kind of individualisation. We've become a smaller unit, but also we've become more isolated even from our extended families that previously might have been more involved, maybe would have lived closer. So Giddens and Beck and Judith Stacey, Tamara Harivan, for me, they're the four key. We can't really do postmodernity in the family without these. Obviously, there's lots of other postmodernists, and when you get more in depth in the kind of theory of postmodernity, you'd be looking at Lyotard, Baudrillard. But when we're looking at the family, these are the key ones that you're going to want to use in your essays. And then criticisms. Actually, it's widely argued that the diversity has been exaggerated, and actually the nuclear family is still core to society. It's still the main family structure that we have. You can then sort of double evaluate that with Pat Thane and say, well, actually, was it ever the core structure in society? Was it ever the core family structure? So that, you know, there's kind of a double flip of evaluation there. And there's this kind of internal critique as well. Are we in postmodernity or are we in late modernity? Are we in some ways still held back, still restricted by those structures? Have we completely had that process of fragmentation, or maybe we're only some of the way there? And remember, there's loads of other terms, that there's other arguments that we're in fluid modernity, or, you know, different versions of this late modern kind of argument. So that's worth bearing in mind as well. That might be useful to hold back to an evaluation where you've got that kind of internal critique. But also we do still have kind of, you know, our conflict theorists who are arguing that we do have, we are still held back to some of these structures, you know, gender, class, these things are still evident. You know, we have an aristocracy, have a royal family. We really can see that there is a class structure in existence. You know, can we really deny that? Can we say that everything is about our own personal choice? But remember, to sort of flip that as well, we have got postmodern feminists. We have got postmodern theorists who do bring the kind of post-structuralists who do bring in the power relations that conflict theorists would be interested in. They do look at them through a postmodern lens. Okay, so that's postmodernity. When you're revising, you should, before you're ready to do exam practice questions, you should be able to recall all of this from memory. So if you want to use this knowledge grid, create the grid using just the 4 headings, and then test yourself, keep testing yourself until you get a 100% memory recall response rate. Then you're ready to move on to the exam questions. Good luck.